Hey everybody, Bill here from Chords of Orion. So last week, I guess I shouldn't say last week, the last video I did before this one was in regards to creating ambient guitar tones using Logic Pro 10. And I demonstrated how you could use a preset called Never Ender to get a pretty nice sounding ambient guitar tone. Had a couple questions since I posted that video about more of the specifics of that particular sound. So what I thought I'd do today is just kind of dissect the preset and take a peek at it a little bit more. So what you've just heard is essentially a clean version of that last video I posted. Check out the link here in this video to see that one. And as you can see, I've got one track set up in Logic Pro with the audio, and it's set to a preset called Amazing Tweed, which is just your typical small Fender amp sound. Okay, nothing too special. I should mention, if you didn't watch the last video, I am playing a Fender Blacktop Telecaster Baritone guitar. So it is tuned lower than a standard guitar. Okay, so what we're going to do in order to look at this preset that I used in the last video is in the library over on the left-hand side of the screen, I'm going to click on Experimental Guitar, and I'm going to go ahead and select Never Ender, and you'll see it change in the track area of Logic. So let me go ahead and do that. All right, so there it is. Let me get rid of the mixer for a minute. Hit Z so we can see everything. So that's great. So good. So we've got Never Ender. Let's listen to it again, in case you haven't listened to the other video. All right. So if you're like me and you're interested in spacey rock guitar, if you're old school like I am, or ambient guitar, if you're newer school, it's a little bit more off in that direction. So let's go ahead and deconstruct this preset. The first thing I'd like to just emphasize is that when you purchase Logic Pro 10 and install all of the additional content, so I'll leave it to you to look that up, how to do that in the documentation. But once you install all the additional content, you will receive all of these guitar presets in the guitar modeling section of the program. And under Experimental Guitar, Never Ender actually is one of the out-of-the-box presets. So I did not develop this. This came with Logic Pro 10. What we're going to do is just look at it, see what the components are, and hopefully this will give you an idea of how you might like to modify the preset or use it as a basis for other presets that you create. Okay, so let's go ahead and deconstruct. First thing you'll notice is, let me turn off a couple things here, is that Never Ender has a little drop-down arrow here, and if you're familiar with Logic Pro 10, you know that this is a track stack. Okay, now Logic Pro 10 has the capability of grouping multiple tracks together to either be a folder or a sum if you want to apply effects to multiple tracks at once. You can group them together in what is called a track stack. So that is the first thing to note, that Never Ender is a track stack. It's a little bit more complex than some of the other presets are. Second thing to note is that this stack includes 3 channels. One is the amp modeling channel, and then there are 2 delay channels. And they're actually set up as buses so that you can send signal from one channel into the bus. All right, again, let's listen to that real quick. All right, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the Logic Pro mixer here. So I'm going to hit X, bring that up so we can see it a little bit better. Hit Z so we can kind of see the audio a little bit better. So hang on a sec here. There we go. So let's just take a look at these channels. This is fairly complex for essentially a one-track recording. So all the way to the left-hand side, we have the master stack called Never Ender. And here are the amp, delay left, and delay right channels that we looked at a second ago. In addition to that, we have one additional channel that is outside of the track stack. And that is essentially a reverb channel, if you will. And it functions as a bus. So again, you can take other channels and feed it into this bus. All right, so good so far. Something like that, yep. All right, so let me go ahead and mute a lot of stuff here. And let's listen to just kind of the plain Jane sound here. All right, so I've turned off the two delay channels. I'm going to actually turn off all the effects here. Forgot about that. Actually, I'll go ahead and leave the compressor on. I'm not going to touch the EQ here up at the top. But let's go ahead and listen to this relatively dry signal. All right, pretty boring. Let's go ahead and work with just the amp channel. You'll see it's set up as a Vox model, it looks like here. And there's a noise gate, there's a pedals effect, the amp itself, and channel EQ. I'm going to go ahead and turn the gate on. We won't look at that. Let's take a peek at the pedals, just see what we have going on there. So we have a treble boost and a phaser set up for our pedals. Okay, no big deal there. If you want to modify this, I would suggest looking at choruses or other vibratos, tremolos, other types of effects that are here that may modulate the sound. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn the pedals on. Listen to that. Yep, that's a phaser. Let's go ahead and look at the amp model here. And you can see we have what I believe is probably a Vox model with a 2x12, again, probably Vox cabinet. So no big deal. You can see the settings there. I won't go over them. And let's go ahead and turn it on. Let me play it here. And we'll turn on the amp model. And you can hear it's a little more Voxy sounding. There's also channel EQ. We're just rolling off some low end and boosting some of the low highs. Well, mid highs, I guess, for 4 to 5K. Just for a little more clarity. Okay, great. Let me play that again. Just listen to that. Yeah, not too much going on there. Actually hear a little reverb. Not sure where that's coming from. I probably forgot to turn something off. You guys can correct me if you see it there. Anyhow, let's go ahead and talk about the two delay channels here. So we have delay left, delay right. As you can see, they both have EQ. They're using the delay effect. Okay, this is the delay designer on both sides, I believe. Yep, there we go. And again, I don't want to spend too much time looking at the preset itself, but you can see there are 4 taps in this delay set to different delay lengths. And so I'm going to leave it to you to discover this a little bit more. If you're not familiar with Delay Designer, I would highly recommend you read the documentation on this plugin. It's really powerful and can do a lot of great things. In addition, there are a ton of presets that you can use as starting points for your delays in Logic. So if you haven't explored that, I encourage you to do that. We also have a flanger on the left, and a phaser on the right. So let's check that out. Whoop. There we go. So interesting that we would have the phaser on the right, flanger on the left. So that's going to give us different sounds in the stereo image. And then we're using the auto filter to provide some filtering, some automatic filtering capabilities. So again, if you look here, the waveform's kind of that triangle-ish waveform. So that's going to provide some modulation within the actual echo delay effect itself. So let's go ahead and listen to that. The way we're going to get these delays into our sound is to assign them to some buses. Okay, so we've got bus 4 and bus 3 set up here, and these are going to send to the 2 delays. Here we go. Let's go ahead and turn these off of mute. Okay. Sorry about that. You can hear that these delays are really providing the bulk of the ambience for the tone. Let me play that once more. So pretty cool. The other thing you can do with these buses is vary how much signal actually goes to the delay. So, by simply pulling these down, these knobs, if you will, up and down, you can really control how much signal goes to each of the buses. All right, so that's great. One last piece to this preset is an overall reverb. And that actually is on another bus. So the bus is called large, I believe, large hall / floor. Sorry, I can't speak tonight. And you can see here we're using the Space Designer, which is the convolution reverb. And it's set to a fairly long reverb preset called Prison Main Floor. So if we were to look at that, I think that's going to be under large space. Yeah, large spaces, halls. There it is. Prison floor main. So it's really just using another preset for the reverb that comes with Logic. And this time, instead of the buses occurring off of the amp, we're actually sending the entire track stack to this reverb. So if you look here on the left-hand side under Never Ender, you'll see that it's assigned to bus 1, which is indeed the reverb, and it's turned off right now. Let me go ahead and turn it on. And what this will do is, since these 3 channels, the amp, delay left, delay right, are all going through the track stack, the sum total of these 3 tracks, if you will, are all going to go to the reverb over here. So let's go ahead and listen to that. It's way more subtle than the delays. Let me go ahead and turn it off. Okay, depending on the audio system you're listening to this on, you may have trouble even hearing this. Let me go ahead and crank up the bus here, and I'm going to go ahead and mute the delays temporarily so you can really kind of hear what's going on. Let me turn it off again. Okay, so no reverb. Now I'll go ahead and turn the reverb on. Okay, so you can kind of hear what's going on there. It's really providing a background reverb Again, it's going to be fairly subtle with the delays turned on, but what it's going to help do is kind of, quote, glue, unquote, everything together within the overall sound. All right. You can ignore the master channel. I did put a Kramer tape simulator on there just to raise the amplitude of the track a little bit. That's a Waves plugin. Really like it a lot. Maybe I'll do a video on that sometime. But anyhow, that's a look at the Never Ender preset that comes with Logic. I would encourage you to play around with some of these presets, deconstruct them, and really kind of look at the parts and pieces of the presets, and then use that education to create your own versions of the preset or even presets that you've created from scratch. Once you understand what some of these effects are doing, you really will have a lot of options in terms of crafting your ambient guitar tone. All right, well, thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you all on the next video.